Hello, I'm Damian from Kubermatic, and you're watching the Cloud Therapist channel with Motek.
Hello and welcome to the Cloud Therapist channel. I'm Richard Simon. This is a new series of short talks where we provide a summary of one topic. So this talk is going to be a quick update on the latest release of Kubernetes. I'd like to welcome back Damian Marquez. Damian is a Senior Solutions Architect at Kubermatic. How are you, Damian?
Walking in the sunshine, Richard. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Okay, so let's dive straight into the details. As we said, there's going to be a focus on Kubernetes. The latest version is version 1.23. So what's been the improvements in that release?
All right, so Kubernetes 1.23 was released last year. It comes packed and crammed with a lot of new things. So we got 45 enhancements, similar to the 56 we had in 122. 11 of those are new features that are graduating to a stable, and a whooping 15 features that keep improving. They added 19 new, completely new features, but we got the highlights for you, so you don't have to go scramble around on the internet and just look for it.
Excellent.
So the ones that I find the most interesting, the top 5, it's delegating FS groups to CS drivers instead of the kubelet. So this is very interesting. This is a huge effort to move the CSI drivers out of the Kubernetes core and achieve real modularity. So every new version from a couple of versions back, we see how there's a little bit of progress on this front, and the Kubernetes team has kept a clear vision of where this is going. So being able to delegate more features to CSI drivers makes it easier to support new platform, which means that in the future, new services, for example, like Portworx, Ceph RDBD, AWS ABS, and Windows will be even more supported. So this is massive.
Cool.
Number 2, it's the kubectl events. So the new kubectl events now respond to the fact that the events have their own workflow. What this means is that kubectl gets the events that usually get via commands is not enough. So they're improving this functionality to make life easier for everybody that has been working with Kubernetes. So you know how painful that is, right?
Only too well.
Yeah, me too. Number 3, this is lovely. I like this one very much. It's recovering from resize failures. So this is another tool that they added specifically to make life easier for everybody that is using Kubernetes, and especially for people that are just coming into the Kubernetes world. So one of the most difficult things sometimes is recovering a system from errors, like having to resize a PVC or having to recover from an incorrect resizing. So this reduces the frustration that you have to go through with Kubernetes. It simplifies a lot of that. Number 4, OpenAPI version 3. So the extended support from OpenAPI version 3, it's already here. It goes with tools that depend on the Kubernetes API. It's very small, because in the terms of the details, it's like supporting enum, but it comes with a little bit more validation. So now you have user interface with more drop downs for those fields. It's a little, it's a little bit of good and jazz, but and it's good for people that are just coming into Kubernetes. It's a lot of more menus, less more coding, less more CNI.
Oh, more friendly.
And number 5, you have at GPC, to prof to pod. What this means is that normally Kubernetes uses profs to help SREs to increase the availability of your services. They use this to make sure that everything is up and running, that nothing is going to fail. So making sure that you have the addition of supporting this prof means that the protocol is growing in popularity. It makes life easier for everybody that is working as a developer to simplify and make sure that applications are more resilient. So this
Okay.
is the top 5. It's lovely,
Excellent.
it's good. And in terms of business, means that Kubernetes is moving in this direction of making life simple for everybody that is just starting to come over, and it's a complete newbie into that.
Excellent. What else you got?
All right, so then we move into the API. Let's do this quick. I got 3 good changes. So number 1, CRD validation in expression of the language. This is a very nice enhancements that implements mechanism for CRDs, the custom resource definitions, to complement the existing one based on webhooks. So there's 2 things that come from this one. The first one is that all of the information in the CRDs can be implemented in the same place. So in the past, you have to spread it out. And second, that there's the possibility of simplifying a lot of developments because you won't be needing webhooks. So this is good. Means that you can centralize and you can simplify. Number 3, as I mentioned, OpenBPI v3. I'm just going to add a little bit more into this topic here. And it's a new feature that adds support to the kubeAPI server to serve Kubernetes and types of OpenBPI 3 projects. That's specifically what it does. Long story short, it's just going to allow you more complicated definitions. So you can add more complicated APIs into the mix. And number 3, everybody loves fairness. So this new version introduced priority fairness for API requests. So it's going to allow you to, put a feature gate that enables a new max in flight request that is going to be handled by the API server. That's it. You can do better definitions, better requests for your flow schema, and it will pretty much be easier for the Kubernetes API server to be responsive for the admin and be more available with heavier loads.
Cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's super cool. Means that the API is not going to break. And then we go to CNI department. We got as well 3. We're adding IPv4 and IPv6 dual stack support. To put it bluntly, this feature is just the work done to support a dual stack mode in your cluster. So you can assign whatever IPv4, IPv6 addresses you want to any given pod, which is very good. You can now have dual stacking in there, and that's very good because there's a lot of solutions that use IPv6.
Sure.
Then we got number 2, namespace as scope ingress class parameters. It's very short. It means that you can now specify parameters for an ingress class within the namespace.
Okay.
So you can create better rules in your networking and in your CNI. And number 3, they're adding something that I find very interesting because it was added in Kubernetes 1.21 release, and it's topology aware hints. So this enhancement has been on the works for quite a while, and in this new version, this is going to replace the service topology that was introduced in Kubernetes 1.17. So it's a massive improvement.
Okay.
That's it. All right. If we want to move forward, then we can talk a little bit about the SPO, operator security profiles. For those who are not aware or are not familiar with that, SPO is just a Kubernetes enhancement that makes the management of policies and profiles more convenient. So in this new version, we got a very good highlight, and you are able now to record the CComp and the SE Linux profiles using operators. This is excellent because in business, this is going to allow you to reduce the dependencies required for profile recording and the amount of time for audit and syslog running on the nodes. So it's very good. And then we can move to, deprecations. We got the deprecation of the flex volume.
Okay.
Which is good for those who don't like flex volume. It's getting deprecated. It's the out of the 3 CSI driver that was recommended in Kubernetes at the time. The way to write the volume drivers in Kubernetes and so on. It's moving away. It should be implemented now as a CSI driver, and move users of a flex volume to a CSI. So that's the thing. The users of the flex volume just you guys move your workloads to the CSI driver, because this is getting deprecated. So before you update, make sure you do that. And other small deprecations, the deprecation of the klog specific flag in Kubernetes component. So this is taken out because the functionality in itself, it's not critical. It hasn't proved to be very useful in the long run. And the scheduler component in the config API, it's moving to a beta 3, and the version 1 beta 1 is getting deprecated.
Right.
That's it. How you doing so far? How you like it?
Yeah, good. Yeah, sounds really good.
Excellent. Then I got some more for you. I'm trying to cram it up.
Carry on. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got the autoscaler. And for those who are aware, so in previous versions of Kubernetes, there were some betas and alphas for the autoscaler. But in Kubernetes 1.23, this feature, it's being graduated as feature 2702. It's graduating the HPA API to GA. And to put it in a very long story short, the version 2 of the horizontal pod autoscaler has been more stable. There's some minor changes that were done. So now it can be considered as an official improvement. There was complete end-to-end test added. All API were deprecated. The container resource targets for renaming resource and pod resource were added. Rename the value from disabled to scaling disabled. So there's a couple of things that were added as a quality of life into this one. So this is excellent.
Sure.
And last but not least, to those who like storage, me included, right? I got the top 4.
Go on.
So number 1, we got the non-recursive volume ownership. This is graduating to stable. What happens is that before in the past, a volume vine mounted inside a container, and all of those permissions have to be changed to an FS group value, and that will slow the process on a large volume. So it will break the stuff, and it will be very, very heavily to load in, for example, pods that run databases and stuff. So this is graduated to stable, the ability to implement this to prevent this from happening. Recovering from resize failures, as well as I mentioned, is graduating to stable. It's going to prevent your errors, like having trouble resizing the PVC. And number 3, AWS EVS in tree to CS driver migration. So I mentioned this before, but in terms of storage, this means that the driver can now be redirected to the out of the 3 EVS.CSI, the AWS driver.
Right,
so
that's cool.
Migrate your loads. Yeah, it's awesome. You can now migrate a lot of stuff easier. And number 4, you got the generic inline ephemeral volumes. So this is a very minor upgrade. This was done as a small enhancement that provides a very simple API to define the inline in the volumes and how they will work with any storage driver. So there's a catch with that. That driver has to support dynamic provisioning, but apart from that, it's awesome. I like it when Kubernetes moves to more API-related solutions. Makes it easier for everybody.
Well, Damian, thank you very much for doing this update on Kubernetes with me. I really appreciate your time. I will be adding in all the details that we've gone through today. Certainly a lot to consider, and a lot of stuff that we've covered. I'll be adding in the details in the description of the video. Just leaves me to thank you, and hopefully we'll do another talk soon.
It's always a pleasure, Richard. Thank you for having me. It's always a blast to talk Kubernetes, containers, everything I like. This is a very interesting topic. So no, thank you for having me. I mean, more than happy. Thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed this content, please subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.